Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Electric Moon. This is our very first installment of Artist to Artist. We're doing a lot of things from the show. The biggest thing is kind of chatting with fellow artists, whether it be painters or sculptors, musicians, songwriters, whoever it is, and just kind of picking their brains about how they do certain things, what inspires them, where the songs come from, some of their biggest influences, and just random musings throughout the interview. Very excited about it. It's something that I've always been really interested in is listening to fellow artists talk about how they do certain things. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. We do a lot of special things from here. There'll be live performances here and there. We'll be introducing what's coming up at the Electric Moon, things like that. But without further ado, our very first guest is one of my favorite Los Angeles songwriters and songwriters in general, actually. She's fantastic. She's an entrepreneur. She's multi-talented. She's a songster. She's a troubadour, and she's wonderful. I'd like to welcome to the show Ariel Silver. Are you there?
Hi. Hi. Nice to be here.
Good evening.
Good
How's it
evening.
going?
So good.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
feeling good?
Yeah, I've just
Yeah,
had a few days of just like yoga and music, so it's been a nice couple of days. Yeah.
that sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty hot in Los Angeles. You're keeping cool?
Yeah, I mean there must be a fire burning nearby because the air quality today just, you know, kind of went sideways. It got kind of yeah, you could just feel like the particulates in the air and the sunset was a little too pretty.
Yeah, I
You know that
noticed that.
it's
I
yeah.
thought the rain was coming, and I was out in Topanga Canyon today, and it was quite interesting. Actually, yesterday, I think there was a fire that had started, and then by the time I was leaving, about an hour later, they had it put out, which is
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
so. But yeah, we pray for the firefighters. My brother's a firefighter, and we pray for their safety and hope we can get through this fire
Yeah.
season and all that. But
Yeah,
tell me about
100%.
you've got quite a setup over there. Um, tell us about that.
My live stream setup, all the
Your whole studio setup over there and
well,
what you've got going
this is my she shed in the backyard.
on. Mhm,
It's a 10 by 12 space that I put up in 2018. And when I built it, I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I wasn't playing a
it
lot of
almost doubled as
music.
a bunker
Yeah, totally.
with everything. Yeah,
And I didn't know what I was going to do with it at the time. I had effectively quit music um, almost 10 years earlier at that point, and um, I was just trying to find my creative muse. I felt like there was something, and I didn't know what it was. So I in the spring of 2018, built this shed. Well, I didn't build it myself. I mean, hammer and nail,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that wasn't me. But I hired someone to build it, and you know, within a few weeks, within a month or so after I built the shed, I just picked up my guitar and started writing songs again. And
Great.
it was like I just needed that, as Virginia Woolf said, that room of
Yeah.
my own. I just needed that space. And it brought me back to music. So I love this space. And then when COVID hit, of course, it's become like, you know, a mecca, my little haven in the backyard. I teach yoga from this room. I do my music live streaming. I host and produce my podcast from here. I teach classes from here. I do everything right here. So,
Great.
yeah.
So it's got a good amount of space in there.
You know, it's only 10 by 12. I mean, 10 feet by 12 feet is not, it's not that much, but, you know, I can work with it. I got my bookshelf over here. I got my yoga mat back there. You know, it's like I got my guitar. You know, it's like everything I need.
Now,
Um,
as a writer, do you find that where your writing is integral to your creative process? Like if you were to go to, oh, say, the south of France or
mm,
Topanga Canyon or your own studio, do you feel that that's conducive to what comes out of you? Is
yeah,
are
yeah.
you sensitive to that?
Yeah, I think that that's why I needed this shed to come back to music. I grew up in the woods, in a house in the woods, and there's just something about like being outdoors, not outdoors in an urban setting, but outdoors with like trees and airflow and just like where my eyes can kind of look beyond a wall.
Yeah.
To me, it's like it's sometimes inconvenient, but I've come to realize it's an essential part of my creative process for writing music. And when I built this shed, this shed is the size that it is because I was trying to replicate a cabin that I used to live
Oh, brilliant.
in the summer times, in the woods of Massachusetts when I was in my 20s.
Wonderful.
And I loved that cabin, and I would sit out on the like there was a little dock right next to it, and it looked out over a pond. When the winters were, you know, when there was a lot of snow or rain
Yeah.
during the winter, in the summertime the pond would come under the cabin, and then in the drier winters, it wouldn't quite reach
Wow.
that. But it was really beautiful, and I don't know, I just feel really at home there. So when I built this shed, I was kind of trying to emulate it. It's not finished.
Interesting.
The walls, like, it's not it gets really cold in the winter and really hot in the summer. There's no insulation in here, but there's something about that outdoorness that I think I need.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of conducive to that as well. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I have every place I've lived out here in California, each house I've lived has been like a time period marker.
Mm.
Like when I lived in Topanga, it was mostly with Barbarian Overlords and recording those records, and then I did Sir Orchid and the Magnificent in that little house, and so then my next place, I was in Burbank, and I did Your Heartbeat is Revolution for the most
Oh
part.
my gosh, you can map this whole city based on
Yeah,
what
it's
record you
weird. It's
recorded.
really
Wow.
weird. My it's really time period of where I was
Yeah.
artistically, and then now in this house is all Electric Moon. Yeah,
Wow.
so everything was
That's
created
cool.
in this house. So years from now, when driving around going to these different places, like, man, I did everything from Electric Moon was in right through that window at a kitchen table with my little magic chair that you can't see with the photo, but it's right here.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty
So yeah,
cool.
it just maps out, what I was those, and it's weird. It's not like you plan like, oh, I'm gonna move this house and I'm gonna do this record. It just
Yeah.
happens that way. You just buckle down, and then, when it's time to move, that work is out there and done. And but kind
Wow,
of interesting how that works.
it's
But
such an interesting idea that when that project has kind of run its course, it's time to move on to the next space and just kind of soak up whatever spirits show up in that
yeah.
new
So what have
place.
you done in that shed so far? Tell
Oh
us.
wow. I mean, everything that you're probably familiar with of me has
Great.
been done in this shed. So, my third album came out in '06, and my fourth album came out in 2020. So there
Yeah.
was like a big gap between the third and fourth album. And the fourth album, A Thousand Tiny Torches, that came out last summer, before I recorded that record, 2018, once the shed was built and I settled in here, I laid down the flooring, I put that chalkboard wall up behind me, and I just started writing a song a week. I just wrote songs for 2018, and in end of 2018, I just hesitantly started to put my dip my toe in the water of performing. I was really nervous about performing again because I had sort of in 2009, when I had basically decided to quit music, playing shows were really fraught with a lot of anxiety and just like not positive feelings. And so in 2018, 2019, when I started performing again, each time I played a show somewhere, I just like, I walked into the space and I was like, okay, you don't have to do this for the rest of your life. You just have to do this tonight and just see if
Oh,
you enjoy it. And
wow.
and I was enjoying it a lot. Like, I was really, really loving having the opportunity to take these songs that I had been writing and, play them in a physical space for a listening audience and to connect with people over stories and narratives and songs. And it was just like, it was really interesting, but it was baby steps, complete baby
Yeah.
steps for me. And in
How do you
20, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, you please finish.
Oh, I was gonna say that in 2019. So that was 2018, and then 2019. By then I knew that I wanted to come back to music. I was like, yeah, this is the thing. This is the thing that I love. This is the thing I have always loved. I just needed to. It was almost like we had a, me and music, had like a love affair, and we had eventually we had to break up. Like we got divorced. Like we just couldn't see eye to eye for
Yeah.
10 years. But then we got back together, me and music,
What
and
do you suppose the turning point was? Was there something, very oh, there's a feather. Good luck. Um, do you think there's like a turning point, something that, because I had some big things happen in my life in the past year or so that were really turning points for me. Was there something in your life that, um, maybe your meditation or whatever it is, or you're like, yeah, I don't have to be so anxious, or
yeah.
what made you fall back in love and say, yeah, this is what I need to be doing, and just relax? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, I think that when I had been practicing yoga for about 9, 10 years by the time I quit music, but I was just sort of dabbling in yoga. I was doing it as an exercise, but not as like a deep engagement with the practice. But then in 2008, I just got deep into my yoga practice, and I think that that's what it was. It was this like kind of the shattering of my ego, whatever had come before, just scraping everything down to the foundation, and then, yeah, that consciousness, that mindfulness, the breath, and
Yeah.
just learning how to kind of knit myself back together, not trying to knit myself all in one session. Like I finally had some patience. I think yoga taught me a
Yeah.
lot about patience, allowing time to just unfold. I think I had been in a big rush
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah, it's meditation. I'd like to touch upon that a little bit later in the show, and
Yeah.
your gig as a yoga instructor and all that. I want to get to
Yeah.
that. But back to the nerves before a show. I mean, I'm kind of like that too. I've never done the whole like throw up before the show kind of thing. I've never
Mm.
had to do that, but I always get really real anxious, and sometimes I wonder, why am I doing this if I feel like this? But someone, a wise man once told me, he's like, you got to have some sort of nerves.
Mm.
I think it was Brandon Flowers from the Killers. He's like, because he was deathly afraid of taking the stage. Like early on in the
Oh, wow.
Killers, you can see their early stuff was like he was very timid and really had a difficult time. Now he's one of the greatest performers that we have, but he took time to grow. But he was basically saying, your nerves let you know that you care
Mm.
and that you feel. So he's like, when they stop visiting me, then maybe it's time to stop, because maybe that means I don't care anymore. So,
Yeah.
I think they're essential. And they also, for me, if it's a big show and, the curtain opens and, the entrance music stops and the lights go down and we're kind of hopping backstage and we're ready to go. And it's all right, guys, let's go. And we're kind of heading, you're kind of like a tiger that's been in a cage.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
that follow-up energy, you're just like, oh man, our intro music just started. You're kind of like, oh, here we go, let's roll. So I think you need some of those nerves, but I think at one point for me, and with meditation, I was like, okay, you gotta ease up on some of these nerves, because you can't
Mm.
go on like to this extent. But I think to hold on to some, like when I was in my early 20s, like I would just be just backstage. I couldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, show me the stage. I'm just going to beeline through the crowd and get up there and do my work.
Yeah.
Because that's just how I got into my space and got into my head to do what I do now. I'm able to have dinner with the band and a conversation. And then I go and say, excuse me, guys, I have to go warm up. I have to go, and then I do my thing for, a half an hour. But so it's gotten better throughout the
Yeah.
years. But I know how you feel about that. But I think it's important to have just a bit of that. I think the greatest performers in the world are probably the ones that have the most nerve before,
Hmm.
but they can control it just enough, maybe, but
I think you're right about nerves and having that like little bit of adrenaline and excitement
yeah,
about performing, I think that that does, it does show on stage, that excitement.
Yeah,
But I think
sure.
that the nervousness and the stage fright that I had when I was younger, I think it was coming from a different thing. Maybe
Okay.
partly excitement, but I think it was also coming from an oversized attachment to perfection and
Mm,
to ego protection, or like
yeah.
I was wearing a lot of armor when I was younger, and
Mm,
I wanted to both put on a good show but also not let anybody see me. I wanted to be like myself inside. Like I wanted like the a facade of me as a performer. That's what I wanted people to see. And the
yeah.
real me underneath, I was very attached to people not seeing that. And that took a lot of energy to kind of keep that locked up, to simultaneously want to be seen and not seen. That's that's
Balance.
that's a really difficult, if not impossible thing. And I
Yeah,
think
it's a
that I
weird
was
balance.
what'd you say?
It's a weird balance.
Yeah, yeah, and I had it's funny. I have a song on my third album called "Pull and Push," and
Mm,
the chorus of the song is you cannot simultaneously pull and push, and I think that in those years I was always simultaneously trying to pull and push every aspect of my life, um, and then I had this kind of realization. I mean, you and I had a beautiful conversation earlier this summer as I was prepping to play a show. I called you up and I was like, "How do I deal with this? I don't want to get stage fright." And it was a great conversation. It helped. I really worked like for a couple of weeks.
oh,
All of the work that I did in my journal, in my meditation, it was all around trying to find a path beyond this wall of stage fright that I had previously felt. And I had this realization during that time, um, which is that it comes down to, for me, it comes down to the song. But the thing is, for me as a musician, I'm a classically trained woodwind player, and I studied classical and Renaissance music in,
wow.
when I was younger, and then throughout college. And there's this there's this elusive perfection that I never felt like I achieved. I never felt like I was going to achieve it, and yet I felt like I was supposed to keep striving for it.
Hmm.
And I think that realization that what I'm doing now is it's all about the song, and it doesn't matter if if I don't quite hit that phrasing right, or if
Yeah,
I drop a chord or any of that, as long as the song comes across. I
right.
mean, I'm trying to play a good show, right? I'm trying to play my songs right, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be a flawless performance.
Right.
I can let go of that ideal that I had carried with me when
Mhm.
I was a classical player, and
Yeah.
not worry about that, you know?
Yeah, I think as artists we can kind of get hung up on that. And
Yeah,
I've never been to me the word perfection in art is a bad word.
totally. I
I think
totally
it's,
agree.
but I've also been very difficult on some producers in my life
Mm,
about getting that vision out and getting it how I want it. But I think that's different though. It's a little bit more like, okay, the horns there, that trumpet
mm,
sound is not the sound that I want, but it's not about hitting the right notes. It's about the whole scope of the piece.
right,
It's not
right.
about the all the notes are in line, because I I'm very against perfectionism. Like my last producer who I worked with on Your Heartbeat is Revolution.
It's a great
Um,
record.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
He wanted to, and I don't want to offend anybody here, of course. There's different musicians for different things, but he wanted to bring in his buddies that were all studio musicians.
Hmm.
Okay, so studio musicians, as far as musical knowledge, they can run circles around me. You know what I mean? It's like you had George Martin to
Right.
pull John Lennon in line. Like John will, oh, just some chords, just I don't know, just goes like this. And George would be like, okay, yeah, this is what you're doing, John. Okay, yeah, okay, whatever. So those studio musicians can run circles around me, but at the same time, it can give kind of a very perfect, stiff
Mm.
feel, and it lacks that feel. So I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to do that. I think the people that we're going to bring around are very proficient musicians, but It's the same with painting. Like I
Mm.
want to see something a little bit off. I want to see something not perfect, not like. But some people are into, what's the word, like scenery art or wildlife art. They want to see like it's perfect. For me, I see art as like I wanted something not perfect. So
Right, like something that's expressive,
yeah,
right? And expression
yeah,
is often, I mean, it's often a little bit messy. There's often,
right.
like that moment where you get, choked up or something like that, or just those moments of surprise emotion are sometimes the most beautiful. There's a
Yeah,
story that I heard about Brandy Carlisle's
sweet.
record that really was like her breakthrough record, and there's a song on that record where her voice breaks. It's an
Yeah,
awesome moment. I mean, she's got such a stellar voice,
you
and her
can't be
voice just
replicated. I
breaks.
mean, it's not. Yeah, it's just magic.
Yeah, it is magic, and I think I read a story once where she was saying when they were recording that she wanted to do another take on that, and the producer was like, no, like that's
Yeah,
it, we got to keep that. And it's
yeah.
true, it's this magical moment.
And that's and for live as a live thing, it's kind of like if the power goes out, something happens, go out in the crowd, grab some acoustic guitars, and continue on. And that
Right.
audience is going to take something home, like, wow, the power went out, or something happened. So they literally came out into the stage and they sang like 20 more songs and just had a
Mm,
ball. And that was an
right.
experience. Or even like Freddie Mercury, the story of you had the mic thing with just a stand, right? You know how you carry it around
Yeah.
like a cane. Well, that was a happy accident. I had heard the story that early on in a Queen show that it broke off the base of the mic stand. So that's what it became. I
Oh.
mean, he just made the best of it and he carried it around. It became a trademark thing. So
Huh.
there's, the saying, it's just rock and roll, and
Yeah.
those are, it's only rock and roll. And those are the moments that I think people will remember. They're going to remember moments like that versus a fine-tuned, perfect show. Now you're gonna remember a band firing on all cylinders, but that doesn't mean it's perfection. That just
Yeah.
means that organism together as a unit, whether it's Black Flag or Red Hot Chili Peppers or Tame Impala, when those bands lock in, or Lucinda Williams, when it's locked in, then it's an organism that is so powerful that it moves you. But I don't
Yeah.
think there's perfection in that, you know?
I love that word. I've been thinking a lot about that word that you just said, moves you when you're moved. That idea of how, like, what is it in us that moves when 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 we are moved, when we are moved by a moment in music. Like, it feels like there's literally a shift in something, in our psyche, in our spirit.
Mhm.
There's something, that idea of being emotionally moved. Something has changed from point A to point B,
Yeah.
and those moments are amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing when we can feel them, and
Yeah.
sometimes we're lucky we give them. Yeah, sometimes
Mm.
I'm really
Hmm.
lucky. Talk to me about, now you have a big voice, and I thought you sounded fantastic. Speaking of Hotel Cafe, you sounded amazing. That was a
Oh,
wonderful show, and I was really
oh,
happy to be in the room for that.
thank you.
But you have a great big voice, and I'm always moved by great singers and strong singers that can carry. I think it's just you and Caitlin
Yeah.
on the bass. She's fantastic, by the way, on the upright bass. But to carry a show just with an acoustic guitar and a voice is it's not easy. And your
Yeah.
voice sounded fantastic and very full. Talk to me about. I always love learning like who's into who, like who influences you. What singers out there that really move you and kind of you
Right.
from.
I don't know that I ever tried to emulate somebody,
Mhm.
but when I think about what has influenced my vocals, and like the way that I sing, I think that there are a couple of things. Two of them are circumstance. The first one is that I grew up in a household that was pretty angry, and a lot of shouting and anger and all that stuff. And I think that when I was a kid, I was yelling a lot, and I was crying, and I was
Oh,
playing a lot of clarinet, and I was just trying to channel. I was trying to learn. At the time, I wasn't thinking about this, but I think over time I was trying to learn how to channel all of that power that I was just, that was uncontrolled at that age, how to
Yeah.
channel that in a positive direction.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I think.
Great.
um, and then the second circumstance is that when I was just starting out as a songwriter, I was living in Boston, and there's so many great songwriters out of the Boston music scene. It's just a phenomenal, um, awesome place to
How is it
be.
nowadays? Still pretty strong?
I think it's really strong. I think that there's a really great community out there. Of course, I've been here now for a long time, but
Yeah.
sometimes I look back, longingly at Boston. I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of great songwriting happening in that town. And there's this, LA is different. It's a different kind of. I mean, LA is a
Yeah.
phenomenal place to be. Here you get really polished performances, and it can be a little bit intimidating, I gotta say. Like, LA is a performer town, and you get, people with like really strong voices and stage presence, and, it's like everything about them
Yeah.
means, looks fit for the stage. Boston is a little different. I mean, there's some of that, but for the most part, when I think about the songwriters in Boston, I think of just like, people walking in off the street in their street clothes, picking up
Yeah.
a guitar and just wowing you with a song that just hits your heart and makes you cry. And, it's just that kind of thing. And when I lived in Boston and was starting out as a songwriter, that stage fright that was so debilitating to me, I knew that in addition to learning how to write songs and play guitar and sing, I knew that the other thing I needed to learn was how to perform, how to sing in front of people. And
Yeah.
so I started busking on the street because I didn't think that I was experienced enough for any club to hire me. And I knew that I needed that experience of performing in order to get into the clubs. And so
Sure.
I
Yeah.
just, got an amp, and I hooked a battery up to my amp and had a little cart and would go down to Harvard Square
Great.
every weekend in the summer, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then in the subways when it got colder. And so I think that in part that busking influenced my voice,
Yeah.
because you're you're singing like there's street traffic, there are
Yeah.
people walking by, there are subway cars, and it's like, how can you make yourself be heard?
Yeah.
And I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but I think about it now, like, those two things.
Mhm.
um and from a artist standpoint, who influenced me vocally. I wasn't trying to sound like her, but when I lived, I think I was 20 or 21. I think I was 21 maybe. I was living in Boston, but my aunt and uncle hired me to be a nanny for my two little cousins, and they were living right over the Massachusetts border in upstate New York. And
Mm.
so I would get in the car in Boston and drive across the state, get to their house. That was Sunday night, and I would work at their house and live with them all week long. And then on the weekend, I would get back in the car and drive back across the state to get back to Boston.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be in Boston, but all of those hours in the car, and also during the week, whenever I was like driving the kids to preschool or whatever it was I was
Yeah.
doing, I often was listening to, I had a cassette radio at the time, and just like a handful of cassettes in the car, and Natalie Merchant's
Ah.
album with, I think it was actually maybe a 10,000 Maniacs
Oh,
album,
yeah.
but it was like, it was either her with the band or her solo. But either way, I found that her range was like similar to mine, but just a little beyond it. And I would put that cassette on in the car and just sing along with her and try to, like, develop my vocal strength. And so
Great.
Natalie Merchant was a big one at that time. Um, oh, and then my favorite songwriter, one of my favorite songwriters, contemporary, out of Boston, but she's a big Nashville writer now. Her name is Lori McKenna, and
I know that name. Yeah. For
I
sure.
love the way that she. I've just loved her for a long time. I haven't tried to emulate her, but I am sure that something about the phrasing of her songs, of her lyrics, has seeped into my own style. I don't think, nobody's ever said to me, oh, you sound like Lori McKenna, but she's just so close to my heart, and
Great.
as an artist, that I'm sure that has influenced me.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my strength came from, I think for the most part, is just starting out as a young kid, just playing in and around Detroit and singing over, trying to sing over loud bands with crappy PAs in Detroit
Uh-huh.
and, noisy places. So I think that's a lot of where my
Yeah.
strength came from, because it's like, well, I can't hear myself. We'll sing louder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and they were, a lot of times grungy places. So you kind of had to really work at it. And it's kind of like, I kind of see it as like if you're in T-ball or baseball and you have two bats and you're on deck, and then you have two and it's kind of a struggle, and then you drop one and then you go up the bat and it's a lot lighter. So it's kind of like that. But I guess it's like any kind of conditioning
Yeah.
you do, that you just like, if you're running and you have weights on your legs, you're going to
Right.
work harder. You're going to
Totally.
develop those muscles. So I think all of this came from just like having to sing over the band, and their amps still turned up. It's like, I can't hear. It's like,
Yeah.
sing louder,
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think a lot of that, it came from that, really, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, you have a magnificent voice. I mean, you're one of my favorite singers that I know personally.
Oh,
Your voice just blows me away. So
thank you
that's
so
cool to hear
much.
that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But I can thank the city of Detroit for that.
Yeah. I'd like to thank Detroit. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'd like
but
to thank Boston.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, and shouting matches within the household. Yeah, it's all a gift. It's however we develop and however we come about, good or bad, it's all in our DNA and our makeup, and
Yeah.
it's gift somehow. Next question. Do you want to perform a song? Will you perform for us?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I have my guitar.
Oh, is it handy? Wait, that beautiful
Just in
Gil,
case.
that beautiful Gil guitar that I love so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it too. Yeah. Yeah, this has been my tour buddy for a long time, 20
Are
years.
you one to I'm personally not. Are you one to trade in instruments or sell them? Are you one to do that?
No, not much.
No.
I'm like I'm very loyal. I'm a very loyal person. I'm loyal to I still play on the same clarinet. This is a problem actually because clarinets do not get better with age. So I'm still playing on
Oh,
the same clarinet that I've been playing on since it was a it was like a giant gift that my whole family, everybody, grandparents, aunts, uncles, parents, everybody, cousins pooled their money together to buy me
wow.
this really great clarinet when I was in seventh or eighth grade. And it was, you know, just like, I mean, you're not a clarinet player, so I won't get nerdy about the kind of clarinet it is, but it was great. If I were to continue with a career as a professional clarinetist, this is the clarinet I would get.
Wow.
But the thing is, it's really old now, and I went to and they don't get better with age. So I went to
Why is that?
it's just like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like, well, I'll tell you that there's a clarinet shop here in LA, and I went down to the shop to do a master class, to just attend, just to watch a master class with a really amazing clarinet teacher. And the room was full of clarinet players, and I brought my clarinet into the workshop at the end to the repair
Yeah.
workshop, because it needs some work. And I gave it to the guy there, and he looked at this clarinet that I have that it's just mine. I've just had it forever. And he looked at it, he's like, "Oh, this is a vintage instrument." And I got it new, right? And he's like, I don't want to take it apart to clean it, cuz it has a lot of keys on it." And he's like, I don't want to clean it, and it really needs cleaning, but he's like, I don't want to clean it because at this point it's so old that it's possible that all of the
Wow.
gunk and grime and dust and everything that's accumulated over the years is keeping it together.
Interesting.
If I
Wow.
take the keys off to clean it out, the wood might crack. So let's just, keep it as it is. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's really, really interesting, because my main guitar, whenever I have to have work done on it, I tell them not to clean it.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. That's
How about
right.
that? Because I think it
Yeah.
becomes, not because the grime is holding it together, but it just
Like the juju.
yeah, it just feels like I just don't want it wiped down, or
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of strange, but
Yeah, I mean, guitars, guitars tend to age well, which is
Oh, yeah.
why, we celebrate, and like, I mean, those old Gibsons or,
Yeah.
whatever, it's like, they sound great with age. This guitar, I think, is sounding better and better with age. I got it new, but yeah, I
Yeah,
tend to be loyal.
especially the Gibsons. They're the wood.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
mine, you can kind of see now. Demonstrate. You can't see it. Like
Yeah.
this is a little bit more. It's finally got that antique color that I've been waiting
Yeah.
for, that I had to wait like 20 years for. So it's finally, the wood, especially these Gibsons, man, they just,
Yeah,
you want them to get old, and that's where the magic is, where the tone
totally.
is. But anyways, I would love to hear a song. And is this a song off your new record?
Yeah, I'm gonna play "What Really Matters" off of
Wonderful.
1,000 Tiny Torches. This is the song that KCSN 88.5 has been given some love to lately, and
Wonderful.
it's also, it feels appropriate to this time of year because I wrote it inspired by the wildfires. Well, I mean, I wrote it. It was a particularly bad week, or bad fall actually,
Wow.
for wildfires when I wrote the song, and. I'm sure like you, I knew a lot of people who were evacuated from the areas, and it's just inevitable around here. And it just got me thinking ever since I was a kid, because like I said, I grew up in the woods, and I don't know, did you have this thing when you were a kid? I remember it coming up, like, fire preparedness, and we had to think about
Sure.
like, how would we escape from our house if...
What was his name? What was the guy? People watching, they're like, oh yeah, they're shouting it out right now. What was the fire guy, the fire bear?
Oh, the bear, Smokey the Bear.
Smokey, thank you so much.
Smokey.
Everybody's shouting it at home, like, Smokey, Fred.
Smokey the Bear, I love him.
Awesome.
But there was this idea that how would you get out of your house if there was a fire? And when I was a kid living in the woods of New Jersey, we lived in this house. My bedroom was on the top floor. It was built into the side of a mountain. So if there was a fire and I had to escape from my bedroom and couldn't get to the front door of the house, there was like a significant 3 or 4 story drop from my bedroom window down to the forest floor.
Wow.
So this like bothered me as a kid, because I was like, gosh, like I like, what would I do if there was a fire? What would I bring also? Like, if I could get out of the house, what would I take? And so that was sort of the beginning of, as I was writing this song, that's where this one started. So.
Beautiful.
What would you take if your world was on fire? Right in the wind on a tinder of leaves, flames flying in like an enemy fighter, sunrise in red, tell me what would you grieve? When you're burned down to the bedrock, when you're scraped down to the coals, when everything you thought you knew is changing, and you feel the devil fighting for your soul. Flask of whiskey, stash of hot letters from a lover that you should long forgot. When your tidal waves of tears turn to laughter, that's when you know it comes down, 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 down to what really matters. Do what really matters. Smoke screens and daydreams don't help when you're running. Blooms lift to heaven the rest of your home. Falling like snow, you're an angel in ashes. Chimneys and tree bones and churchyard stones. When it comes down to the bedrock, when everything that you've known is shattered glass in the doorway, stash of hot letters from a lover that you should long forgot. When your tidal waves of tears turn to laughter, that's when you know it comes down, 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 down to what really matters. Do 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 what really matters. Do do do. Stash of hot letters from a lover that you should long forgot. When your tidal waves of tears turn to laughter, that's when you know it comes down, 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 down to what really matters. Do 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 what really matters. Do do do.
Well done.
Thank you.
Fantastic song. I just have one complaint. I couldn't see your hands.
I know. I realized like I set up. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it just looks like I'm like do 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 do.
I didn't want to disturb you. I like
know.
to see the hands because we see that we can study the chords and the.
I think it's fun too. Just like seeing the activity, even if you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I just over the past couple of years, I've really been like just trying to watch the hands. Well, I'm a lefty, so it would be.
Oh yeah.
It would be my right hand, but so to watch kind of your left hand is, or even the right.
There we go. Maybe that.
Well,
There we go. I changed my camera a little bit.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that was great. Would you say that was when did you write that one in the whole process of the whole record? Did that come later on? Because it's a very strong one, and a lot of times for me the real strong ones come under the pressure of like we need, these aren't good enough, so as you go along right? So is that kind of how that one came about, or where did that one, was it one of the first, second, third?
Yeah, well, in 2018, when I built the shed and started writing songs again, and just, a song a week, I found a songwriting group down in San Pedro. I started driving down there every Monday to share a new song and get critique and hear their songs, and so just did that for all of 2018, and it was in the fall of 2018. So I'd been writing a lot that year, and it was in that fall that I wrote this song, probably October, I think, 2018. And up here in where I'm living up in Burbank, we were in the middle of like I said, it was the middle of a lot of fires, and the air quality was horrible. It was, very smoky. The ashes were falling everywhere on your car in the morning. You'd put your windshield wipers on to clear the windshield. And then I went down to San Pedro with this song, and it's like blue skies, clean air, like everything, like there's no fire anywhere. And I walk into the songwriting group with this song, and they were like, wow, that's a really great fire metaphor. And I'm like, it's like we're in the middle of a lot of fires, like it was.
Yeah, sadly, it's not a metaphor.
Yeah, but yeah. So I didn't know at that point that I was writing a record. I was just writing songs and trying to figure out if this was something that I wanted to come back to, if I was gonna do this music thing again. And this song, I remember feeling. It's funny. I remember feeling uncertain about it because. It's really just 4 chords over and over and over again, and I specifically, when I sat down to write the song, wanted to do that. I wanted to just see what would happen if I use the same chord pattern, the same changes throughout the song, but just change the melody. Like, how much could I put the pressure on the melody and just keep the changes the same?
Right.
And I actually think that forced me to to write a stronger melody and more distinct sections in that way. And
Sure.
but at the same time, when I brought this song to my producer, when we finally, 6 months later started to work on the record, I pulled this song out and I was like, I don't know, what do you think? And he was like, yes, definitely that song. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
I I've always found it fascinating when bands or songwriters use just two or three chords through the whole. For instance, what's one that I learned recently for that Last Kiss by oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the original band. It wasn't Pearl Jam. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. The Cavaliers? I think it was the Cavaliers wrote that song. But it's just one chord progression all the way through, and it's one of the greatest songs, and everyone knows it. Last Kiss by the
yeah,
Cavaliers, done by Pearl Jam, or even Let It Be. Let It
yeah,
Be is just the same chords, And I have one song off Orchid of the Magnificent that called "The Ghost in the Night." That is literally just two chords, dun 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 dun, and there's like
yeah,
three or four different melodies and hooks in it. And for me, I've always found that I feel like I'm not the strongest guitar player, so it's like you better make the songs really good. That
right, right,
you want to it's out of necessity. Like you better make the songs really good because you're not as good as that guy as a
right,
guitar player. So
right,
it's like you think, okay, well, to compensate, I just have to make the song really good and sing really well so they don't notice that I'm
yeah.
not that good on guitar. So for me, that's kind of like the way to go about that. And
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel the same way. Like, okay, the for me, I mean, in terms of the kind of art that I want to make, I
yeah,
never said to myself, although I am always trying to improve my guitar playing,
yeah, of course,
I never said, "Oh, I want to be a killer guitar player." I really wanted to develop as a songwriter,
right,
and
right,
and really, like, the songwriting part is the part that has led me to become a better guitar player or become a better singer. It's all because, well, I really want to just write good songs, but I want to deliver them in a way that people can hear them. And if I can't sing it myself, how can I get this song out into the
yeah.
world?
And that's the same for me. It's like I'm more attracted to. I've never really had a drive to be a great guitar player. Although, over the past couple of years, watching Saint Vincent or Jack White, I mean, these people, they're great guitar players. So I get a little inspired by that. But I've always kind of been like, I'm not really that interested. But I do want to write Let It Be and Nowhere Man and Last Kiss. I want to write songs like that though. I was more
Yeah,
focused on like that versus,
yeah.
but I've worked at guitar. I don't think I'm a natural
I, w-
guitar player. I
I
don't,
want to say this though. I was in school with St. Vincent. Annie and I were in
hmm,
school together, music
wow,
school, and I want to say that she was a killer guitar player then, and
wow,
also a great songwriter, and also had terrific stage presence.
yeah,
Even back then, but she definitely. I don't remember if she was a guitar major or not, but I remember we played some gigs together, and I remember
wow,
thinking, oh, I need to up my game here. Like
yeah,
she's got this fretboard down. You know,
yeah. She's great.
um,
I'm a huge fan.
yeah,
She came across my mind because I just saw her on something, and I'm like, man, she's a really good guitar player.
yeah, yeah.
Or
She's terrific.
Bonnie Raitt,
Oh yeah,
back in the
terrific.
70s,
Yeah,
like, oh my God, she's just incredible, man.
yeah,
Like people just, I remember seeing her. It was almost like a vision several years ago. I saw her. I don't know, like 3, 4 in the morning. I just turned on PBS or something, and I was watching her, and I was like, wow, who is that? She's ripping it right now. And ever since that moment, because I didn't really know who it was, which was
yeah,
weird because I pay attention. I watch a lot of different things, and I
yeah,
didn't know who it was, and I had to research who it was. I'm like, oh my God. But because I didn't know who it was, and because it was like 3 or 3:30 in the morning, and I was confused, that 70s footage of her just, it seems like all a dream.
yeah. Wow.
She's great, but yeah, I've always that focus of just like, three chords and the truth, you know,
Yeah,
three chords and the truth, and you're like, if we're teaching a student at Electric Moon, music lessons, the biggest thing is like, I can teach you the G chord and the C chord and encourage you to sing from the heart. And you're going to come back to me with songs that are
Yeah.
ready to go, because that's really all you need. You know, just dun 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 ba da dee dee ba da da dee, and you're good. You know, you can write a Let It Be, maybe, but you know, so that's all you really need, and that's the core of every artist is kind of tapping into that and being able to tap into that, which, you know, it's not really. It may be easy for you or feel easy, but it's not really that easy, you know.
I think that the thing that that someone needs even before chords and an idea is an interest. I think it naturally comes. Like I've been thinking a lot for a long time about talent and the role of talent. And I
Mm.
think that I think that interest is the thing that develops talent. Or, I mean, I've known plenty of people who have had a talent for something, but they don't have an interest in it, and it eventually falls by the wayside. It's kind of excruciating when you watch someone like, wow, they're such a great player. How could they, just put it down and never pick it up again? But it's like
Yeah.
they just aren't they're interested in other things. And I think that when you're interested in something, you want to spend time with it. When you're interested in a person, you want to spend time with them. When you're interested in an idea, you spend time with it in your mind. And when you're interested in, music, it's like you're listening to it. You start to figure it out, and that is, I think, a more important thing than any kind of innate talent or whatever that might be. I think that there's more longevity with interests.
Yeah, I think you gotta have a kind of drive from within,
Yeah,
something that hasn't existed before, I think,
yeah.
or just a drive of, you know, not knowing when to stop. You know what I mean? Which is kind of like the Electric Moon is just kind of just being creative and having that drive. I want to
Yeah.
ask you too, what usually comes first for you in terms of writing a song? Is there anything that is
Hmm.
there a melody? Is it a chord? Is it you know, a bird flying past your window? What triggers? What comes first?
Well, I keep a running list of ideas. I mean, even just today, I was out for a walk, and just a certain thing, you know, turned in my mind, and I put
Uh,
it on my list in my phone. I have a list in my journals, a list in my phone. So I have those ideas, but that doesn't. It's like those are things that I mine when I come to songwriting. I think that so it's like those things are sort of uh, like those ideas are like filling the cabinet so that when I'm ready to cook, I have the ingredients
oh,
there or
great.
some ingredients.
Yeah.
It's like that's the spice drawer or whatever. I think that sometimes I sing every day in the shower as like a
Yeah.
as a practice, as a vocal warm up, and
Great.
as a joyful thing to do, and sometimes
Okay.
when I'm singing, it turns into, just something comes, and I like a melody comes to mind, and as soon as I get out of the shower, I press record,
Yeah.
to capture it. But when I then come into the shed and pick up my guitar, I don't always pick up that voice memo.
That
Um,
plane sounds like C. Sounds like it's
yeah, it's like all these seeds
that
are
C.
dropping, but I don't necessarily take that melody. It's almost like just the fact that the seeds are falling from the tree. I come into the shed, I'll pick up my guitar, and if
Mm.
like I'll just start noodling with something, and or figuring out like some kind of chord progression, or it doesn't always, like, I don't necessarily go back to those voice memos that I
Interesting.
you know recorded. um the song will never get written if I don't sit in the chair and pick up the guitar. That I
Yeah.
know for sure. I can
Yeah.
have 1,000 ideas, 1,000 voice memos, but I have to make the time, and I have to give myself a few hours at least.
That leads me to another question. How do you feel about um, when to write and how to write? Because during quarantine, I've heard one of the ways that Nick Cave writes, one of my favorite songwriters, is he literally puts on a suit, his
Ha
jacket. You
ha
know how
ha.
he wears that
He
black
goes to
suit?
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always in a black suit, right? He does that, and I think he leaves the house, he goes to his office, he puts on his jacket, and he's 9 to 5, and he goes to work.
Yeah.
And during stay-at-home orders, where that's all we had to do
Yeah.
was I was building Electric Moon and drawing up the plans and
Yeah.
then studying business, and then I would write. Like a lot of times I would just do different days. Like, okay, today you're just gonna write, and then you're gonna study business, and then you're gonna
Yeah.
drop sketches for Electric Moon and all that stuff, which
Yeah.
is how we're witnessing. But anyway, I got to the point where it's like you're just gonna get up, you're gonna meditate, you're gonna work out, you're gonna put on some coffee, and then you're just gonna go lock yourself in that room, and you're just
Yeah.
gonna try and write. And I was working on material with Barbie and Overlords, and some days, it's frustrating that it's like, man, I'm not getting anything. But if you get that one line
Yeah.
or that phrasing, that's gonna tie the song, and then it's productive. But a lot of times, you go to work and you do it just like anybody else would. Like if you're the production manager for building a new restaurant, you're going to go and you're going to do the work that you have to do to get that new restaurant produced, just like anybody else. So I kind of liked that idea before. It's like, oh, I have to do it late at night, and it has to be dark, and the sun can't be around, and I still can't write with anyone around. That I'll never be able to do. I don't care if it's my wife, girlfriend, children. I just can't do that. I have to be isolated. I have to be alone.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
But anyway, that'll never change. But I did like the idea of like just go to work, and if something comes out, great. If it doesn't, it's okay.
Yeah.
Try to get at least one line. So how do you feel about that?
I thrive. I'm very busy like you are, and so I thrive when it comes to songwriting when there's some kind of accountability. So that group that I was meeting with every Monday, for example, I my ego would not let me show up on a Monday without a song, even if it was a crap song. I needed to show up with a song, and so inevitably, I mean, there was some crap, but I didn't intentionally write crap. I was trying to write, at least come in with a verse and a chorus, every Monday. Usually it was a full song, maybe the bridge wasn't quite there. And this year in 2021, a friend of mine, we played a live stream back in February. And it was just the two of us trading songs over the course of the night. And somehow in that event, she said, "Hey, do you want me to hold you accountable to write a song a week? I'll send you the prompt every Friday, and you send me back a song by the next Friday." And so I was doing that at the beginning of this year, I would say for the first half of this year. So that I thrive in that. And yeah, I have to show up at my desk.
Yeah.
Actually, not this desk though that I'm facing right now. If I'm sitting here, my computer is here. It's not where I want to do my songwriting. I do it over there. I have a piano. I have a piano tucked in the corner, and I don't typically write using piano as an instrument, but all of my songwriting papers are on top of the piano, and so I'm literally writing on the piano. And I'm facing that other window, and it's like a different point of view. It's a different perspective. It kind of keeps me away from the computer. I can't see the computer when I'm over there. So
I think it's one of those things where I think Picasso said, inspiration can find you, but it must find you working.
Yes.
Yeah. In setting deadlines. I mean, even with when you're, because I have a tendency to is it ready? Is it ready? I don't know. I'm still tweaking it. But
yeah.
Mick Jagger, I think, said, well, the Stones just say, okay, it has to be done by September 30th. We're done. That's it. So you have till the 30th, and then that's it. So be done and be ready, or you missed the deadline. But I think he set parameters, and I think if you set I'm going to write a song a week, and you just go to work, and you're working that muscle, Like after quarantine, I had a stockpile of tunes
Yeah.
to go, and I
Yeah.
still do. But Electric Moon is keeping me very much on my toes right now. But
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
waiting.
I have a new album that I've written.
Great.
Mostly, if not all, this year. In the first half of the year.
Yeah.
I think that the songs I wrote last year, I was writing last year, but I don't think any of those are gonna make the cut for the album, and that's totally fine.
Sure. Bring that
And
muscle.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, and it really is a muscle. I've experienced that myself where if I go through a period of time where I'm not writing and then
Yeah.
I decide, okay, you gotta just sit down and write, and you've got to have a song done in a week
Yeah.
to send to your friend or whatever. I find that muscle, like I do feel atrophied a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
wait, it's tough, and everything in me doesn't want to do it, and yet I know the joy of finally having that new song to sing. Like when it comes together, it's such a
Yeah.
satisfaction. It's a crazy, amazing feeling when
Yeah.
it all comes together.
And I think a lot of it is dropping that pressure. Again, during quarantine, I was like, you know what? If you get something great, if you don't beat yourself up, Brent. Because I can be very, very difficult on not perfectionism, but is that painting good? Or most of my paintings as a painter, they start out terrible and I don't like them at all. But I have to see it through. I have to give
Yeah,
it a chance because in my head, looking at one now, um, I, I I can see the potential. Actually, it's okay right now. It's not bothering me. But a lot of
what
times I don't like, and the songs are the same way. Songs are
mm,
like, man, I suck because I can't come up with this phrasing, or I can't, it's not
yeah,
good. And then you record it and you're like, the next day, it's like, okay, that's terrible. Or you find something, you're like, okay, wow, why did I beat myself up? So I think the biggest thing is not, as an artist, not just putting in the work, doing the best you can, always coming from here, you
mm,
know. And it's what I teach our students. It's just kind of like,
yeah,
if you just come from here, and it feels good, and you're writing from here, and then it is good. Then it's great, and I
yeah,
think it's I think that comes with maturity as well. You just stop. You just don't. You don't beat yourself up, and you learn how to, and you get better at it too. You get better. You get, over quarantine. I'm like, man, wow, these songs are really appearing. All of a
yeah,
sudden, I think I'm getting okay at this after so long. And we're always learning and working at it. So it gets,
yeah,
it just comes with maturity. But I think you just kind of just do what you do
yeah,
and mean it. It just kind of, it all works out. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah, I have a whole process now. When I'm writing that quickly, a song a week. There are times when it's like, oh, I really want to write a particular song. That happens. But when I'm writing like that, that accountability, that schedule, that
Yeah.
show up at my desk and sit down and write. I really like the inspiration of a prompt word, because I'll use that word, not like, oh, use the um here's it. Can I play a song for you? I'll give you an
Of
example.
course. What kind of
Let's
show would this be if we said no songs?
ha ha ha. Let me just tune this up for a second.
Hey, we're,
So
we're going we're going long, but it's okay. We can, right?
you just call it when you're done. You just call it.
Well, I could chat with fellow songwriters all night, but you know,
So this song, the prompt, this one was driving me crazy because my friend said, "Okay, here's the prompt. It's trash."
mm.
And
Oh wow,
um
I love
and
the idea of that too.
yeah, so this is my process when it's not immediately obvious to me what I want to write about. I take that word and I write it down on a piece of paper, and then I list 5 things that associates, that brings up for me, and I don't get attached to any of them. I just like trash, and I was thinking about um you know um my ex who would bring in like broken things from the trash and like try to make something of it. So that was one idea. And just some other ideas. And then I kind of just intuitively feel my way into which one has the most gravity to me, which one feels metaphorically interesting, or like there's a story behind it that I want to tell. That example of the trash, I wanted, like, there was something I really wanted to write a song about my ex and that trash, that would end up in our house and then just sit there. And there was something about that. I was like, I really want to write that song. And it wasn't coming to me. And for days I was knocking my head against the wall, like, come on, like, playing with different ideas, rhymes, chords, everything. But I realized over a few days that actually there was another thing that I wasn't paying attention to that was kind of pawing for attention in the back of my consciousness, which is that when I lived in New Jersey in that mountainside community, I remember as a kid my dad would bring the trash cans out, and we had just those old aluminum trash cans, right?
Yeah.
Before they came out with these like plastic,
Yeah,
things.
I remember. Yeah, like Oscar.
Exactly, Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah,
so we had those Oscar the Grouch trash cans, and there were a lot of raccoons that lived in our area. And we had deer, and now they have bears in that area. I mean, there's like a lot of animal life, wildlife living out there. And so raccoons would, of course, like, people would try to bungee cord the trash can. It was like a thing. It was a problem. But I realized...
on top, maybe.
Yeah. So I realized, like, as I was trying to think of this song, I realized that those raccoons kept appearing in my mind. Like, I kept picturing this, like, dark street at night, like a street lamp, shadowy trees in the background, and like just a raccoon there somewhere. And so this is what ended up coming out of that prompt.
Great.
And so I discarded that first idea, after days of trying. My intellect wanted to go there, but this raccoon was like in the back of my mind. And so finally I decided, you know what, stop trying to write about your ex and the trash. What does that raccoon have to say? And that kind of like, I just started there, and this is what happened.
Great.
Let's see if you can see my
yeah, please. I need to see the hands.
Let's see.
Oh, there we go. That's good. That's great. That's a C.
Yeah. One part alabaster moon, one part rustling old raccoon, one part whispers of a breeze, one part heady jasmine bloom, one part lonely night bird tune, one part two heartbeats. Might we make an apothecary potion, or bottle it like Napa wine? Might we capture all we left unspoken? Cork it up for future delight. Whatever time might hold, whatever fate unfolds, forget all that we can't control. But let's bottle up tonight. Spotlight of a street lamp beam, shadows dancing in between, familiar as an old refrain. All the stories of the past, the future ones that come too fast. off the edges of the frame. Might we make an apothecary potion, or bottle it like Napa wine? Might we capture all we left unspoken, cork it up for future delights? Whatever time might hold, whatever fate unfolds, forget all that we can't control. But let's bottle up whatever time might hold, whatever fate unfolds, forget all that we can't control. But let's bottle up too.
Lovely.
So not at all about trash, right? But
What that little raccoon? I mean, I kind of forgot about the raccoon, which makes a great song.
yeah, so it was just like I just made that leap from like, okay, the trash thing to the raccoon to like just describing an evening, you know, like
Yeah.
that raccoon and the smell of jasmine in the air and the moon and the bird that's singing at night and then the street lamp, and it's like, you know, kind of, I love doing that. I love like writing from prompts because I allow it, I don't get attached to the prompt itself, but I allow it to kind of open up a new avenue of thought that I wouldn't have probably thought
Yeah.
about without it. So
Yeah, I like the idea of that. I also like the idea of writing for a film where, you know, you kind of you're forced to write, you know, what the director has created in a scene, or what's happening, or the heartbeat of the film, or the character. I would love that challenge. I would love that challenge of a filmmaker saying, write me a record based around this film, because it's kind of like, it's like Sir Orchid and the Magnificent. That record was me writing through characters, because I'd done several records of writing about myself, not several at that point, maybe 4 or 5, but and I wanted to write in I want to get away from me.
yeah.
But I didn't really get away from me because Sir Orchid is me, which is
Huh.
Sir Orchid is actually the concierge at Electric Moon now. But
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
he's from the Sir Orchid and the Magnificent record. He lives at the Electric Moon now, and he's a concierge.
He has a place. That's
Yeah, yeah, he has a home now. I had no idea the Electric Moon would arrive, you know, 5, 6, 7 years later. But anyway, it all comes full circle. I like going back to certain things and connecting them. But anyway, Sir Orchid was the main guy on that record, and I found myself kind of indirectly writing, like, Sir Orchid is me, and how I felt. But I didn't want to, like, here's me, here's my feelings. I wanted, like Sgt. Pepper's or the White Album, like that Sgt. Pepper's is I want to do. Plus, I wanted to wear the Beatles on my sleeve. Like, I wanted to I always had loved the Beatles, and they informed me how to write, but I never really tried to write like the Beatles, and quirky and with characters. And so so I love that idea of like that discipline of having a focus of like, okay, you have to write a song a week, or here's your title, run with it. And I love that approach where if you say, okay, you know, in class, if we say, all right, guys, you know, we're going to pick a topic, broken tambourine.
Right.
I want you guys all come back with a song that is, the title is Broken Tambourine.
Oh, yeah. Just writing to a title.
So that's the title, and that's what you have to work with.
Yeah.
With a film, like, again, you know, Ren, I want you to write about this young girl who's going through this, and she's 12.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what a challenge! Because now I have to write as a 12-year-old girl in her
Yeah.
perspective and what she's going through. What a challenge that is, and what a beautiful way to express, to kind of live in that film and that character, and a lot of pressure too, because you have to kind of deliver how she feels sonically. It's pretty
Totally.
heavy,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that idea of writing the song. And a lot of times, like I personally start with a catchy title. Or a lot,
I wish that I need to write more to titles. That's
yeah,
such a Nashville thing, and
yeah,
I tend to like I have one song that I did write to a title, and I think it came out really nicely, but um there every time I try to write to a title, I end up making the title something else. Like that title is in the song or something, but the
right.
title of the song ends up being something else, and it's I want to get better at that. That's a like they're all muscles, right? It's
That's
all
it.
like yeah.
That's a lot of times it comes from, some of my favorite titles with Studio Tone in Detroit would be The Best of a Bad Year.
Right.
That song of
That's a
ours
good
that
title.
comes from
Yeah.
that, or Falling from the Sun. I remember writing that when we needed more material for a record, and we were at the studio at like 2 in the morning, and we needed more material. So it's like you got to think quick, and I'm like, Falling from the Sun, I like that. So,
Yeah.
or Hang Me from the Moon from the
Yeah.
Overlords, or Jester for the King. They're all like kind of hooky, hooky titles, I guess, that I just kind of use. And a lot of times they come with the hook as well, like it's
Yeah.
the best of a bad year, yeah. So it's like then it's like for me, I'm a hook and melody Beatle guy. That's
Hmm.
where it starts. So once I get that, then I build around that, and the rest is
Hmm.
kind of gravy. But to me, that's the core. That's the core, and like the rest is like, okay, I got the hook. Now I
Yeah.
write really strong verses and a bridge, and I'm pretty traditional when it comes to songwriting. It's the hook and melody, and but a lot of it starts from just a title that just jumps out at me. You know?
Yeah, that's so awesome. I I tend to be more I write in general when I'm writing songs and when I'm writing like my literary work. I tend to use writing as a way of uh like the writing reveals like I learn as I'm writing. And so um I tend to use my songwriting process also to like where's this going and what is the song teaching me and what am I learning, and it's so much about a process of discovery um that that it's like it's just it's a different way of approach. And so I think that a lot of times in my songs I'm sort of entering a story and exploring the story, and then I get to a point in the writing process where I'm like, oh, this is what it's about, and there's the title,
Sure.
rather than starting with the title and then constructing the story
Yeah.
afterwards.
A lot of times I'll if I want to work through something, I know I want to write a song to get a particular thing out of me, I'll just brainstorm. So I'll have page after page of just random lines, and then I'll kind of go back and kind of make sense of it. I remember a bandmate of mine, we had kind of a falling out, and I hadn't talked to him in years, and God bless him, he's now passed on, but he reminded me, when we fell out of touch, I don't know if he emailed me or something, and or whatever it was, but we got back in touch before he passed, and he said something. He's like, "Man, I remember you knew you would have your big notebooks, and you'd have like all your notes on one side and all this random stuff, and then you'd have the lyric on this side." And I'm like, "Oh wow, it never really connected my own method, but he obviously was paying attention and that sort of thing." So I'll literally have like, I don't know, like 8 verses, just working it through, and
Right.
I love to brainstorm because I love to write. So it's just kind of stream of consciousness. You just kind of jotting it down, and then you get a phrase like, "Ooh, that's a good phrase," but I don't know if it's gonna work. But I got to try and make it work somehow.
Yeah.
So, and I think that through that brainstorm is you have something like you're referring to your cabinet where it's there. You could pull that one down,
Yeah.
take a look at that one. Okay, let's put that one back up on the shelf because I'm not feeling that right now, but maybe we'll eat that later. and then you
Yeah,
pull
yeah,
this
yeah.
thing down. So you have, you know, just, and there's a romance to that too. There's a feel to that. To pick up the notebook and, not to sound cheesy and generic, but you got candles and
Yeah.
maybe a bottle of wine or whatever, and you just
Oh, wine. I cannot. I am useless, honestly. I've tried. Like I've tried to be the artist who can write with a bottle of wine, but really I'll have a glass of wine and then I'll be like, let me just
okay.
lie down and let me go to sleep now. It's like I can't
No,
do
I,
it.
I enjoy it when I'm painting and
Yeah.
thing, but yeah, but I think there's a you don't want to get too comfortable in any kind of, for me, in any kind of artistic, you know, I want to be on my toes and kind of keep it, be on edge a little bit,
Yeah.
not get too comfortable
Let me ask you
personally.
a question. Do
But
you so I always like the tools of my trade. I always have if I'm working on a song, I have my guitar, I have my phone to do voice recordings.
yeah,
I have a pen, a couple pens maybe just in case
yeah,
I run out of ink, and I use these like pads of paper and I write really messy when I'm in the middle of a song. It's like
yeah,
I'm just like I'm not on the lines. I just big
yeah.
words. But I also have always I always have a thesaurus and a rhyming dictionary.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just on my phone, or maybe it's like the actual books that I have here in my shed. But to me it become a really helpful. When I was younger, I never did this, but now it's become like a very helpful and essential part of my writing process because I feel like they help to break me out of my own, almost like to think
Yeah.
in new creative ways that I wouldn't naturally do. What do you use? Like, what are the tools that you have when you're working on a song? Like, what's there in front of you?
Oh man,
Guitar, I'm sure,
yeah,
right?
guitar, piano, notebook, and my phone or my task cam, which is a quick
Oh
handheld.
yeah, yeah.
And that's it. And that's it.
Just
And
for the Tascam or your phone for recording, right?
yeah, or the phone, because now we can use the phone.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then I think I'm going to talk to you about this in our last interview. I found this technique that would help trigger, take me in different directions. I'll have a book, whether it's,
Oh right, I remember
um,
this.
yeah, or Ishmael I had, or I think um, Shantaram or whatever it is, and I would just randomly open the book and pick a phrase, and whatever I find, I would write the phrase around that. Typically,
Right, right,
sometimes you pass it, and you're like, "Oh, that won't do. That doesn't make any sense at all."
right,
Well, maybe it says, I was on the toilet. I'm like, okay, can't use that. But anyways,
right.
you don't know where you're going to open up to. It could be, there was one that I recall that was like spies on a roof. I was like, "Ooh, I can use that. That's interesting." And so that would take me down a different path if
What
I
song
got
did you
stuck.
play? Because I remember this conversation, and you had a lot of like carnival and like circus imagery in the song that you played, and that was
Oh
how we ended
yeah,
up talking about this. What song was that?
that was a brand new one that I don't think is really titled. Yeah, that was a brand new one that I wrote over quarantine. Is that the one that floating out of control? Lost in that one, right?
Yeah, that might be it.
It was that one. Yeah, it was
Hey,
definitely. I think, but that one was a perfect example. Like the Spies on the Roof, I think, was from that book and from that new trick that I had been
mm,
trying. Because if you get stuck or you feel, that's a great way to, like John Lennon used to flip on the TV, and that would distract him, and then stuff would come to him.
mm,
That's how that was his thing. Or
right.
Bowie would have the letters that you put together into words. There was a certain thing like cutouts. There was a certain technique that he would use.
Yeah,
Like it just seemed to work. It would just take me down a different path of something
yeah.
interesting. If I got stuck on something that I wanted to kind of develop or take a little bit farther and work a little harder at it, I could just open the book, find a
Yeah.
phrase like, okay, I can roll that.
Lori McKenna, she's married to her high school sweetheart. They, so she's had like one relationship in her life, and they have a gazillion kids.
Hmm.
And she lives in the same town, just a few blocks from where she grew up, and but she's this brilliant songwriter, and she has said that she would get ideas for songs just by watching like talk shows, watching like like the whoever would show up on the show and like talk about
Oh,
their rotten relationship or whatever was happening, and it would help to fuel her for ideas, because a lot of her songs are about relationships of some sort. um so
yeah.
that was where she was getting her
Hey,
ideas.
I think, and that's what's interesting. That's why I love the show so much, is because, or I'm going to love it. It's so new that, yeah. But it's just learning. I'm fascinated with how people do it,
Yeah.
and what their methods are, and that sort of thing. Because everybody's so different. A lot of times people are like, "Wow, I do that same thing," or
Yeah.
but a lot of times we have our own way and our own, you know, tapping into the ether. And sometimes it's happened several times in my life, maybe not several, because it's such a gift when it happens, but the song just literally dropped in your lap, and you're like, wow, I was able to grab onto something that just was floating through the room, and I was lucky to be the conduit
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
that. Has that ever happened to you where just you're like, whoa, I don't know where that came from, but it was just like, here it is, and it's just been handed to me. Is that ever?
um it's funny. I don't In the process of writing a song, I don't know if I would say that, but afterwards, like now, I remember that song that I just played, Bottle Up Tonight. I remember trying to write this other song about the trash and it not working, and then when I finally sat down with the raccoons, I don't remember the process of actually writing this song.
Hmm.
It just
Yeah, is that it?
unfolded somehow, but I don't know that I would have. I don't know that that is. I don't know that that was my experience at the time. It's just that I think that, like I think that as I was writing it, um, I felt like I was doing work. But afterwards, now, in retrospect, I don't remember. I don't remember. I just remember it kind of pouring out. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's kind of a funny thing. Like, I don't think it was pouring out as I was doing it, but when I remember it, like, I
Interesting.
don't have a memory of really, you know,
Wow.
that sort of thing. I don't know. Hey,
Yeah.
I, will you play a song? I mean, I
You
played
want to hear
two.
a song? I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
mean, I
what
played two
song
songs for you. You
you did.
you gotta play something.
Wow. Well, I hope people are still tuned in and they're enjoying the show. Are you having a nice time
I'm
right
having a
now?
great time.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm having a wonderful time.
Good.
We're going on, what are we, over an hour and a half now? It's wonderful. Yeah. Let's see. Gosh, I haven't played the other one that you referred to in quite some time. There's not a chance I should play that one right now. Let's see.
You'll do that next time.
I also learned that speaking of unorthodox ways, I just learned that I think I put my capo. I don't know if you can see my guitar because the lighting's kind of weird,
Yeah,
but
it kind of goes. It goes in and
yeah,
out. Do you have one of those like clip-on capos?
I do, but do you put it on from the top or the bottom?
Well, it's kind of funny. I use Shub capos, so I
Okay.
don't use that clip-on kind. But I actually was on their website a while ago, and there was a whole. I can't remember if it was a video or just like like a Q&A. I can't remember what it was, but it was
Yeah.
talking about like, some people put it on, going on top, and some people go do the other way,
Okay.
and they were like, it doesn't matter. At least for the Shub capos, I do top down
Okay.
for this capo, but I have another Shub capo that only covers a few of the strings, and
Uh,
if you flip it, it covers different strings. So depending on which orientation you have, you'll get a different tuning.
Interesting. Yeah, I put mine from the bottom, and I don't know who I was watching. I think it was last night. I was like, oh wow, he's got it from the top.
Huh?
But I'd seen that before, and I don't
Yeah.
think it matters.
Yeah.
That's art though, and Jimi
So
Hendrix had flipped his guitar in such a way, and it gave him who it wasn't proper.
So was that a lefty guitar, or
Yeah.
was it a righty guitar that you had a pick guard put on?
Well, this one I was lucky enough. This is my baby. This is a gift. This was a gift to me. We had the quick story, Lori, wherever you are. I haven't heard from her in forever, but if she happens to be watching, Lori, I love you, and you saved my life. Because what had happened, we were on the road and we were in Mission City, Studio Tone was, and long story short, we were having breakfast, and a band that we knew, Chris Johnson, if you're watching, from 19 Wheels, we loved them, and we admired them. They're a little bit older than us, and we were at breakfast after a show in Indiana, and we were talking about how 19 Wheels, they were just about to break through, like Nash, the Verpipe was happening. I don't know if you've heard of the Verpipe, but regardless, 19 Wheels was just on the cusp of being a very big band. And we had opened a lot of shows with them, and they were very kind to us. And their van had just recently gotten broken into somewhere. And we were at breakfast, drinking coffee and having breakfast. And one of the guys was like, yeah, did you hear Chris, 19 Wheels van got broken into and they lost all their stuff, like amps, everything. And we're like, oh, you're kidding. Our guitar player goes out to the car.
Wow, no.
You're not going to believe it.
This is painful to hear.
Witnesses our van getting broken into and them just leaving. And he comes back and he's like, guys, and we're having breakfast, we're like, he's like, guys, our van just got broken into. They're like, are you kidding me? So we ran out and they took my flip-flops and my amp. I know, like, how rude, like you take a man's flip-flops after that. And but anyway, long story short, they gutted everything.
Wow.
They across the border. But anyway, my guitar was taken, and at that time we didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't replace it, and this girl that I knew, I'll probably get tears in my eyes because gosh, it meant so much to me. She basically said, Brent, I want you to pick out a guitar, and but you have to promise to take it places and do something with it and write good songs. That's all I ask. But pick out whatever you want. I'm like, Lori, I can't pick out that's incredible. I like Gibson guitars and they're like a lot expensive. She's like, pick out whatever you want, but just promise that you'll write really good songs on it and that you'll take it places. And here we are at the Electric Moon, and several records later that were all written on this guitar.
Wow.
I can't be any more grateful. But what was the question? Did you ask me a specific question?
I was asking about the guitar, and that was just such an awesome
Yeah.
story. So it was a lefty guitar.
Yeah, I have all the rest of my guitars have been flipped. But this, if it was not a lefty, you would see the pick guard on the top.
Yeah, I didn't know if like you had another pick guard,
No, this
added
is
onto it. Okay.
No, again, Lori said pick out whatever you want. So I was able to have this custom. But if you look at even Unplugged for Cobain, he was a lefty and his pick guard is on the top. You'll notice he just flipped it. All my other guitars are flipped except this one. I was able to do that. But I can't thank Lori enough because this song came from it. Swarm bees in the kind of clouds, picking up your sand for miles around. Yeah, around. You build all your bonds until I school. It's not what I learned, it's not the golden rule. Yeah, the rule. You're something true, we see right through. So give something true. Yeah, I guess I'll sleep with one eye open, checking my pulse. Is anybody breathing? I guess I'll sleep with one eye open. Jagged as a river, there unseen veins, wild as a horse, it slows the train. Yeah, it's rain. Wicked your tongue, your actions unclear. Eyebrows raised, brought on with a sneer. A sneer. We'll give you something true. We'll see right through. So give us something true. Yeah, I guess I sleep with one eye open and checking my pulse. Is anybody breathing? I guess I sleep with one eye open. I wanna go to Mars, wanna be around, rubbing my eyes as the ship goes down. It goes down. We're coming on strong, we're coming on quick. Ain't nothing you can do, we can't face, we can't face. We'll give us something true, we see right through. So give us something true. Yeah, I guess I sleep with one eye open, checking my pulse. Is anybody breathing? I guess I sleep with one eye open, checking my pulse. Is anybody breathing? I guess I sleep with one eye open. One eye closed.
Yeah. I was going to ask you to play that one.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I love that song.
I was conduit to your request. Wonderful. Well, this has been fantastic.
Yeah.
In the evening at some point for all the folks that need to get to bed, especially on the East Coast. But
Yeah.
Ariel Silver, thank you so much. Do you have any parting words? Anything coming up that you'd like to share with us? And I'm honored and grateful that you were our very first guest. Thank you.
Thank you. I've just been trying, I guess I'll leave with this. I've been trying to get better at this. I think that part of our jobs as independent musicians and performing songwriters is to help teach music lovers how to be great music fans, I guess, in this weird time when music is essentially free, right? Like you turn on Spotify and it's like, you can listen to whatever you want. And so I'm trying to get better at this. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to practice again. That for you, I mean, you've been in a lot of different bands, but Arthur Autumn, and I don't know, what you would like people to follow you on, but for me, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, however you listen to music, if you would like or subscribe or follow, YouTube, subscribe, find me on my Facebook, Ariel Silver Music page, Instagram. It's just really helpful when people click that follow button or that subscribe or heart for all of us independent musicians. It's such an easy thing and it makes a big difference. So
yeah, it sure does.
Yeah, and for Electric Moon, you're just starting out, and for folks who are already learning about Electric Moon, like Facebook, electricmoon.org, right?
Yeah.
On Facebook and on Instagram and
ElectricMoon.official on Instagram.
Okay, and then also now you have this YouTube channel, probably also Electric Moon.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We're gonna be starting Electric Moon podcast.
Awesome.
You'll be our first guest on that, so we need to get some big shout out to Mike Austin, who was available for us tonight with getting everything going. So grateful to work with him and Miguel Angel Chavez in Argentina. So if they're watching, it's not just one man behind Electric Moon, and I think behind every great team is or behind anything that is out there and making some noise. There's a beautiful team
Yeah.
behind us, and Jules and Hal. But I'm just grateful for the opportunity, and I think the heartbeat of Electric Moon is exactly what our guests, I think, witnessed from you tonight, and what I tried to do, and our love of music, and how, you know, this piece of wood essentially, you know, saves lives.
Yeah, it does.
It does, and it gives the world such joy. Maybe not this guitar, but you know, someone else's guitar. And I think that to get to the point in your life where it's like, man, you know, I'm so grateful that I've been gifted the opportunity of music, and, you know, art. So I think if we can pass it on to the next generation and encourage other kids to, like, yeah, get music lessons and sit down at the piano and just make noise, and get a ukulele and play a harmonica, because it's just so rewarding. You know, you learn cognitive skills, your studies are better, you learn to work with others, you know, you find others that are like you, that like music, and you find, you know, somewhere to be. And you know, it's just such a healthy thing. So I think that's everything behind the heart. Electric Moon is just having the opportunity to inspire the next generation, and leading them to a place that they can feel good, you know, because I think we're so grateful for that, you know. So it's a gift to have the opportunity, for sure, you know. So thank you for being our first.
Thank you. Quite an honor. Thank you.
So amazing you were here, and you sounded great as usual.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and for folks who are like tuning in or just finding Electric Moon for the first time, the website is so freaking cool.
Thank you.
It's so cool. It's like you guys are making something very, very original, very interesting, very creative.
Well, thank you. Like I said, with Mike and Miguel and his team, and Mike Austin at xmla.com. But yeah, I'm so grateful to work with them, because they're so talented, and it's wonderful, and we're kind of getting there. It's a work in progress.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, it's something that we're kind of pioneering a new way, and no one has done this before. So when you trailblaze, it's just takes time to get everything out of the way and build something. But we're getting there, and it's exciting to get students signed up, and so we can teach and give these gifts back, and it's just a blessing to be able to do that, and it feels pretty good. Have you ever taught outside of yoga? Have you taught?
Well, I teach creative writing at Antioch University. I teach creative writing, and I teach creativity. This is going to sound really nerdy, but creativity research studies. So I teach a course. It's starting actually next week at Antioch. Just a class that's entirely about the creative process, and we just explore it in a lot of different ways. So
wonderful.
Yeah. So
great. Well, so I think we're going to do this again. I think October 28th we'll do that. We're going to get on a regiment probably maybe every third Thursday, so we know where to return. Again, thank you, Ariel Silver, for being with us. And one more time, where can everybody find you? What are your handles on social media, really quick?
My website is arielsilver.com, and all of my links are on the website, but my handle at Instagram is Ariel Silver. My Facebook is Ariel Silver Music. I rarely use Twitter, but on Twitter, there's someone in Finland who has 0 followers, and she grabbed the Ariel Silver handle on Twitter. Yeah. I don't know what she's doing with it, but she's not doing much as far as I can tell. So I am, on Twitter, I am REL, 3 letters, REL Silver. So...
Right on.
So there's that. But my website has an email sign up, and I have a Patreon, and just fun stuff on my website. So I think I would just direct people there, because they can kind of launch from there to anything else.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And as far as Electric Moon on Facebook, our Instagram is electricmoon.official, and then of course electricmoon.org. We've got some exciting things coming up. We're going to be introducing new artists in the listening room. We didn't talk about that, but Ariel
Oh.
Music will be there
Cool.
in our listening room, which is state of the art 3D and VR. So we've got some other artists. Brett Mitchell from Michigan will be joining us in the listening room, and a band that I opened for when I was grateful enough to perform with Ours, the Rebel, is going to be joining us in the listening room. A very strong, big rock and roll band from New Jersey. They're going to be in the listening room. We've got some fantastic artists coming to the art room. Lots of exciting things. We'll be introducing the electric ticket very soon, which is kind of a fun way to explore Electric Moon and to give away stuff because everyone likes things like that. And it's kind of fun, kind of based on Willy Wonka's golden ticket, but I can't give it all away. We'll be introducing that soon. And once again, we'll sign off here from the Electric Moon. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight and checking this out. Very excited to introduce the Artist to Artist show more and more and get a little bit more used to this. Ariel Silver was a brilliant first guest. I thank you. And I knew you would be great. Opening, it's not an easy job. So we hope to see you guys back October 28th for another one of these. Stay in tune with electricmoon.org. If you know someone that wants to learn the gift of music and learn an instrument and have it change their lives, we are available for bass, guitar, piano, vocal, drum lessons, you name it, ukulele, songwriting, business course. We are there for you, or someone that you love, even as a gift, give the gift of music. And that's about it. ElectricMoon.org. Grateful, honored to have this opportunity and to share our love of music with all of you. I think we're going to sign off. We'll see you the 28th. Stay tuned to all the happenings. Ariel Silver, thank you once again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
An honor.
Thank you. And
it warmed my heart. And thank you, guys. We're going to sign off. Be kind to one another, and we'll see you next time. All right? See you guys. Bye-bye.